Welcome back, everyone, to the Mindful Health Harbor. We love to really get into the nitty-gritty of concepts here, and today is no different. We're taking a deep dive into I Am Enough.
Ooh, I love this one.
Yeah, and we've got tons of great material to go through. We've got some Marisa Peer excerpts from her book, some stuff from her website, and even some YouTube interviews. Should be a really good deep dive, I think.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack there. It's pretty amazing, right? It's those three words,
Yeah.
I am enough. Like, it just seems so simple on the surface, but then when you really start to think about it,
Right.
the implications for our well-being and all that.
Totally. Okay, so before we go too far, let's back up a sec. For those who might not be familiar, who is Marisa Peer, and what makes her such a big deal?
Okay, so Marisa Peer is she's kind of a legend in the therapy world, I guess you could say.
Okay.
She's done it all. Therapist, speaker, she does hypnotherapy.
Wow.
Oh, and she even developed this super effective therapy.
Oh, wow.
It's called Rapid Transformational Therapy, RTT. And her client list is insane. I mean, we're talking huge A-list celebs, CEOs, royalty even, Olympic athletes.
Okay, so basically anyone has probably worked with her.
Pretty much.
So that's a pretty impressive resume. But what is it that connects all this work? I mean, you've got these high-profile clients, this really specific therapy that she created. What's the common thread?
Good question. And the answer is this: I am enough.
Mhm.
It's at the core of everything she does. You see it in the title of her book. It comes up constantly in her talks. And it's really the bedrock of her RTT approach.
Okay, so I Am Enough is clearly a big deal to Marisa Peer. But what does it actually mean? How can just saying those three words have such a big impact on people's lives?
It's pretty wild, isn't it? The thing is, Peer believes that a lot of the struggles we face, self-sabotage, anxiety, relationship issues, feeling unfulfilled, all of it stems from this deep-seated feeling of not enoughness.
Not enoughness.
Right. It's this feeling that we're not good enough or smart enough or successful enough or lovable enough. And we're constantly chasing after this idea of enough. And you know what? We end up missing out on appreciating who we are right here, right now.
Totally. It's like there's always that little voice in the back of your head going, you need to do more, be more, have more. It's exhausting.
It really is. And what's so interesting is this link that Peer makes between this not enoughness and our childhood experiences.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
Yeah. She talks about it in this interview on The Diary of a CEO. There's this one part where she talks about working with this 14-year-old boy who had been through some seriously tough stuff. Like his dad was physically abusive. Can you imagine?
Awful.
So awful. And obviously that kind of experience just wrecks a young person's sense of self-worth. But Peer, she was able to work with this boy and help him understand that he wasn't inherently broken, but that the parenting he received was just wrong.
That's powerful.
It really is. It's a perfect example of how our early experiences, even the subtle ones, shape our beliefs about ourselves.
Yeah, you don't have to have something as extreme as physical abuse
Mm.
for these beliefs to take root. Sometimes it's the little things you hear growing up.
Oh, absolutely. And those things, they can manifest in so many ways. Peer talks about another story in her Mind Valley interview. This time it's about a woman, a really successful city trader, who tried to take her own life. And on the surface, she had it all, career, money, but she was deeply unhappy. And it turned out that when she was young, her mom committed suicide. And this woman had carried around this belief that I wasn't even enough for my mom to live.
Oh my gosh. It's incredible how these beliefs, these really deep-seated beliefs, can shape our lives without us even realizing it.
It's true. And what's amazing is that in both of these cases, the boy and the businesswoman embracing that affirmation, I am enough, was a huge part of their healing and transformation.
So how does that even work? What's the secret behind these three little words?
Well, Peer has this really interesting perspective. She believes our thoughts are incredibly powerful. Like they literally act as blueprints for our minds and bodies. So if you're constantly telling yourself you're not enough, your mind is going to try to make that true.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. But here's the good news. We can use that same principle to create positive change. When we consciously choose to focus on I am enough, we can actually rewire our brains and start to believe it.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. But is it really as simple as just repeating I am enough over and over again? How does that actually lead to real changes in our lives?
It's definitely not magic, but it's not always easy either. You know, in her Mind Valley interview, Peer tells a story about this Hollywood celeb she worked with. This guy had all fame, fortune, you name it, but he was miserable. She told him to start repeating I am enough, and the results were unbelievable. He lost weight, his whole attitude changed. He even traded his Porsche for a Mini Cooper.
What? No way. That's crazy. It almost sounds too good to be true. But it does make you wonder if simply changing how we talk to ourselves could really lead to such big changes in our lives.
Right. It's all about understanding how our minds work. Peer's view is that our thoughts and beliefs aren't just abstract things floating around in our heads. They have a real physical impact on our bodies, our behavior, and ultimately on our reality.
So if we're constantly feeding ourselves negativity, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, all that, we're actually creating an environment inside ourselves that reinforces those beliefs.
Exactly. But the cool thing is that the reverse is also true. If we can shift our inner dialogue to be more positive, more empowering, like focusing on I am enough, we can actually rewire our brains and start to create a new reality for ourselves.
So fascinating. Okay, I know our listeners are probably eager to hear how they can start applying this I am enough philosophy in their own lives. What are some tangible steps they can take?
Well, it all starts with awareness. You need to start paying attention to what you're saying to yourself. What are those stories you keep telling yourself? Those messages that just keep replaying in your head. Once you've identified the negative patterns, you can start challenging them.
So it's not about pretending the negative thoughts don't exist, but about acknowledging them and choosing to focus on something more empowering instead.
Exactly. And that's where I am enough comes in. It's about replacing those self-defeating thoughts with a message of self-acceptance and self-love.
So even if we don't fully believe it at first, the act of repeating I am enough can actually start to shift our mindset.
100%. Think of it like planting a seed. You might not see the sprout right away, but with consistent nurturing, it'll eventually grow into something beautiful.
I love that analogy. So I am enough is more than just a nice affirmation. It's a tool for personal transformation.
It really is. And the best part is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need any special skills or resources. It's just about making a choice to change your inner dialogue.
I love how empowering that is. So we have the power to change our thoughts, change our beliefs, and ultimately change our lives. Okay, so let's get practical. How can our listeners start to incorporate I am enough into their daily lives?
Well, there are tons of ways to do this, and what works for one person might not work for another. But
Yeah.
one really powerful technique is just repetition.
Okay.
Like Marisa Peer, she tells people to repeat, I am enough, all the time throughout the day. Think of it like a mantra,
Hmm.
a little phrase to come back to whenever you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or just doubtful.
Makes sense.
You could write it down on sticky notes and put them up around your house or in your office
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
yeah, totally. Or set reminders on your phone or even make it part of your meditation practice if you do that.
Right.
It's really all about finding what works for you and then making it a regular thing. It's not about forcing yourself to believe it right away. It's
Yeah.
about being patient,
Uh,
planting that seed and giving it time to grow.
I like that. Planting a seed. So as that seed grows, what can we expect to see? Will there be any tangible changes in our lives?
Oh, for sure. Pierre talks about how as you start to embrace this I am enough belief, you might find yourself taking more risks or going after your passions more boldly or setting healthier boundaries in your relationships.
Interesting.
And you'll probably start attracting different people and opportunities into your life, ones that vibe with your newfound sense of worthiness.
Yeah. It's like you're stepping into your true self and putting out this whole different energy into the world.
That's it, exactly. And it's not just about personal growth either. Pure believes this shift in thinking can impact the people around us too. She actually talks about this program she set up in schools called From I Can't to I Can.
From I can't to I can. What is that?
Basically, the students spend a week focusing on changing their language, going from those self-limiting beliefs to more positive, empowering affirmations.
Wow. And what kind of results did they see?
Oh, it was amazing. The students said they felt more confident, more motivated. They even noticed a decrease in bullying.
No way. That's so cool.
It really is. It's crazy how such a small change in the way we talk can have such a big impact on our behavior and how we interact with others.
For sure. It just shows how connected everything is, right? Our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions. It's like by embracing I am enough, we're not just empowering ourselves, we're creating a more positive environment for everyone.
Totally. It's about recognizing that our worth isn't tied to what other people think or what we achieve. It's something we already have inside of us, and it's always there.
Yeah, I love that. It takes the pressure off of always having to achieve something or prove ourselves. It's about
Yeah.
just being present and appreciating who we are in this moment.
Right. And that's where self-compassion comes in. Pierre talks a lot about the importance of treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially when we make mistakes or don't quite meet our own expectations.
Yeah, because when we beat ourselves up,
Right.
we're just reinforcing that feeling of not enoughness.
Exactly. Self-compassion is about acknowledging that we're all human, we all have flaws, and we're all doing the best we can with what we've got. It's about being gentle with ourselves, even when we mess up.
And that gentleness can create space for us to learn from our experiences and move forward in a more positive way.
Absolutely. It's about realizing that our worth isn't dependent on our successes or failures. It's just there.
It's so easy to get caught in that cycle of self-criticism, especially these days with social media and everything. It feels like we're constantly being told how we should look, how we should act, what we should be achieving. But it sounds like Marisa Peer's approach is all about breaking free from that and being more compassionate and accepting of ourselves.
It really is. And she's got this really practical tool for dealing with difficult emotions that she calls the AAA
The
approach.
AAA.
Yeah, it stands for awareness, acceptance, and articulation.
Okay, I like it already. So break that down for us. What does each step involve?
Well, awareness is about simply noticing your feelings without judging them. So, like, if you're feeling stressed or anxious or whatever, just say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling stressed right now.
It seems so simple, but I bet just acknowledging those feelings can be really powerful.
It is. Because usually our first instinct is to push those feelings away or distract ourselves so we don't have to feel them.
Right, we try to ignore them.
But the more we resist, the stronger those feelings become.
Makes sense.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it for a little while, but eventually it's going to pop right back up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, good analogy.
So instead of resisting, we can practice acceptance. And that just means allowing ourselves to feel those emotions without judging them or criticizing ourselves for having them.
So we're not trying to change how we're feeling or make the feeling go away. We're just acknowledging that it's there.
Yeah, exactly. And once we've acknowledged and accepted our emotions, then we can move to articulation. And that basically means expressing those feelings out loud. You can talk to yourself or to a friend or a therapist or whoever you feel comfortable with.
So it could be something as simple as saying, ugh, I'm so stressed about this deadline. Or it could be a deeper conversation with someone you trust.
Exactly. The important thing is to find a healthy way to express those emotions so they don't get bottled up inside.
I see. So this AAA approach is really a tool for managing our emotional well-being. And it ties back to I am enough really beautifully, I think. Because when we acknowledge and accept our emotions without judgment, we're saying to ourselves, it's okay to feel this way. I'm still worthy, even where I'm not feeling my best.
That's a really great point. It's about understanding that our worth isn't tied to our emotional state. We are enough, even when we're feeling sad or angry or scared.
This is also helpful, but I'm thinking a lot of our listeners are probably wondering how this I am enough idea applies to different parts of their lives, like relationships or work or even their body image.
It's a great question. And you're right, this concept can really transform different aspects of our lives. Let's start with relationships. So when you really think about it, embracing I am enough in our relationships can be a total game changer.
Yeah, how so?
Well, it starts with recognizing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. You don't need to twist yourself into a pretzel trying to meet someone else's expectations.
Right, it's so easy to fall into that trap of trying to be who we think our partner wants us to be.
Totally. And that can lead to so much resentment and insecurity down the line. But when you truly embrace I am enough, it allows you to be vulnerable, to set boundaries, and just communicate your needs more openly and honestly.
So it's about attracting a partner who loves you for you, not some version of you that you think they want.
Exactly. And it's not just about finding the right partner either. It can be incredibly healing for existing relationships too.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, when you embody that I am enough energy, it frees you from the need to control your partner or change them. You can just focus on accepting them for who they are.
It's about recognizing that we're all perfectly imperfect.
Exactly. And finding the beauty in those imperfections. And you know what? That acceptance can create so much space for growth and evolution in the relationship.
I love that. So we've talked about relationships, but this whole I am enough philosophy can apply to our work lives too, right?
Oh, absolutely. When you bring that I am enough mindset to your work, it can really help with setting healthy boundaries and speaking up for yourself. And it can give you the courage to go after what you truly want without being afraid of what other people think.
So it's about recognizing that your worth as a person isn't tied to your job title or how much money you make.
Exactly. It's about finding that deeper sense of fulfillment in the work itself rather than looking for external validation.
I see. So that could lead to greater job satisfaction, more creativity, maybe even more opportunities for advancement.
Totally. When you're confident in your abilities and know your worth, You're more likely to take risks, to be innovative, and to really shine in your field.
And one area I think a lot of people struggle with feeling enough is body image. Like it's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we don't measure up.
It's true. Especially with social media these days, it's easy to get sucked into that whole thing. But how can this I am enough concept help us to have a healthier relationship with our bodies? Well, for starters, it's about shifting our focus away from external validation and towards internal acceptance.
So instead of focusing on how we look, it's about appreciating what our bodies can do.
Right. It's about recognizing that our bodies are these amazing vehicles that allow us to experience life.
To move, to dance, to create, to connect with others.
All of it. And it's about treating our bodies with kindness and respect, no matter their shape or size.
Because true beauty comes from within, right? It's about confidence, self-love, and embracing our own unique individuality.
Beautifully said. And it's important to remember that this is a journey, not a destination. Some days you'll feel super confident and empowered, and other days those old negative thoughts might creep back in.
So it's not about reaching some perfect state of enoughness. It's about making a conscious effort to come back to this belief again and again.
Exactly. Be patient with yourself, practice self-compassion, and keep reminding yourself that you are worthy, just as you are.
What a fantastic deep dive this has been. Marisa Peer's work is so inspiring. It feels like her message is something we all need to hear.
I couldn't agree more. This idea of I am enough, it's powerful stuff. It has the potential to transform not only our own lives, but our relationships and the world around us.
Well said. So if any of our listeners want to learn more about Marisa Peer and her work, where can they go?
Her book is a great place to start. It's called I Am Enough. And she's also got a ton of resources on her website, like articles, videos, even online courses.
Awesome.
And of course, you can find a bunch of her interviews on YouTube too, including those ones we talked about earlier, the ones on the Diary of a CEO and Mind Valley.
Great. We'll be sure to link all that in the show notes for everyone. And hey, before we wrap up, don't forget to subscribe to Mindful Health Harbor for more inspiring conversations just like this one.
And if you're feeling the love, share this episode with anyone who you think might benefit from this message of I am enough.
Let's spread the word. Help create a world where everyone feels worthy and valued. That's what it's all about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, take care and remember, you are enough.